welcome. Welcome back to 12th Street Talk Back, where transparency is our love language. I am your host, Victoria J, back in the building one more time to kick it with my peeps. I hope you guys have been pouring into yourself on this fine day that God has decided to bless us in. Your girl been pouring into herself as best as she could. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably right there at maybe a 3 or a 4. And that's not on the good side of the scale, if you guys know what I mean. So, since this is Mental Health Awareness Month, I thought I'd kick off the episode talking about it. As well as, I want to recognize any nurses out there because this is also Nurse Awareness Month. And I have a big sister that happens to be in that field. Shout out to my big sister, Connie. Connie, thank you for all that you do in our community. All nurses, thank you for what you do in our community. They wear many hats, guys, and they have their plate full. They help with us, they help with the doctors. They got so many different tasks that they do and they play in those roles in our community. So I wanted to recognize that as well as it being mental health month. So, as we jump into this segment today, I'm going to talk about it from a few different standpoints. I'm going to talk about the old school way of thinking about mental health. I'm going to talk about it as a Christian and our different beliefs. Some of us, I can't lump everybody in that box. But let's face it, mental health is like a roller coaster ride. One minute you're feeling like you're on top of the world, the next you're stuck in a fog. But hey, that's life, right? As they say, life be lifing. Well, today we're going to talk about it openly and honestly, the ups and the downs about it. Because I think it is very important to see the different layers that this topic can bring to our lives. So, whether you're stuck in traffic, whether you're cruising on cruise control on easy street, mental health matters. So, buckle up your seatbelt, put on your headphones, turn your car radio up, kick back, relax, throw up your feet, because today we're going to be talking about mental health right after this quick message from our sponsors, BetterHelp. BetterHelp, thank you for sponsoring this podcast. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Victoria J from 12th Street Talk Back, here to tell you about my new friends and partners, BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this podcast. Guys, did you know that BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and it is 100% online? That's right, it is 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, all you need to do is answer a few questions about your needs and preferences during therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then sit back, relax, and get into the flow. Because with BetterHelp, you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable via text, chat, video call. You can even schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. And if your therapist is not the right fit for you for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional cost. With BetterHelp, you get the same quality and professionalism that you can expect from an in office visit, but with a therapist that is custom picked for you. better scheduling, flexibility, and the best part of all, at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com slash 12th Street. That's betterhelp.com slash 12th Street. I've also linked it in the show notes below. Head on over to BetterHelp today and tell them Victoria J sent you from 12th Street Talk Back. Okay, guys, and we're back. Let's jump into this awesome topic today, mental health, as it seems to be on the hearts and the mind of people in today's society. I have to give it up to the younger generation, the Gen X, the Gen Z, for simply bringing this to the forefront over the last couple years, especially in the Black community, I would say. And that's just my personal opinion, because we were brought up a certain type of way. We were brought up that what goes on in the house stays in the house. Don't ask, don't tell. We were brought up in a way that, it really didn't help us out as my generation started to grow up, I guess I would say, and start to unpack some of the layers that wasn't quite healthy for us. I know in the last 2.5 years, I've been focusing on it a little bit more. I've been taking my time and doing it my way. I do recognize that there is a lot of things that my parents instilled in me that I also try to instill in my children. Tough it up. It's not that bad. It's not that hard. Pray about it. Get over it. But after a while, all of that gets old. And our new, younger generation, they've stood firm and tall and said, look, we're not going to do it the way that you guys did it. We're going to go and we're going to get some help with all the things that life has to throw at us, whether it be self-harm, sexual abuse, suicide, violence. We're not going to do it that way. And I cannot negate the fact that we still live in a world where a lot of that goes on. Self-harm, sexual abuse, suicide, violence. A lot more people are coming together and they're getting with their physicians, or perhaps just noticing that they need a change in their self, and they're talking to someone. They're going and using the tools at our disposal. When we were growing up in my generation, we didn't have that. Over the last 2 or 3 years, I've changed my mind a little bit. And I would say more than less, because I was raised in that Christian household. You prayed about it. You pray about it. And there was no, don't ask any questions. Don't ask, don't tell type of deal. If there was things such as sexual assault in the household, or perhaps not in the household, perhaps one of your children, one of your siblings was getting sexually assaulted by a family member that did not live with you, but just happened to be around, as well as self-harm. We do ourselves a lot of harm by carrying a lot of baggage around with us. Self-inflicted pain, listening to others' opinions about us, and that can stem from family members to friends to strangers, as well as work-related. Your mental health can be affected by the job that you work on, some of the tasks that you have to perform, and definitely some of the people that you have to be around. And it can play a toll on the mind. And as we know, everything that goes through the brain affects our system. Our nervous system gets affected greatly. Some of us, like myself, just have things like anxiety. Anxiety can play a big role. Depression, about a lot of different things. We could be depressed about our children, bills, the job, our health, losing a loved one, our bodies, body shaming, strangers, and definitely our children with peer pressure. And I would say that for adults too. Adults, we can be some big old bullies sometimes. We can peer pressure each other because we live in a world where everybody wants to follow somebody. And the time that you step out and be your own individual self, then you get labeled as difficult. And we've seen that come down the pipeline in the last couple years. I know I've had my fair share of it. I just experienced that about a week or so ago. Being out here doing this thing that I love, podcasting, sometimes it's great when it's great. And when it's not, it's not. And sometimes you run into people that don't share your opinion or your views, or may not just like the topic that you talk about. I had someone in the last week try to shame me for being a Christian and try to shame me for having Bible study Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They tried to shame my character. But the thing about it is, they don't even know me. They know me from this platform. And if I wasn't a strong-minded individual, I probably would have let that affect me more than it did. But it did affect me that day because it was an invitation to be a part of something that the person that tried to shame me actually invited me to. And I felt set up. I felt betrayed. And it did mess with me mentally. Because my mind was saying, I dare you. But my flesh was saying, how could you? And I went into what they call fight mode. Thank God he has deposited something different on the inside of me. And I don't do the things that I used to do. Because the old me would have went into a whole show. I would have probably cussed that individual out, as well as got on my platform and talked about it in a negative way. I went home feeling better about not saying anything, but my flesh, I was warring with my flesh because my flesh constantly wanted me to say or do something. Ultimately, by the time it was bedtime, I realized A, I had let this particular person take up way too much space in my head that they shouldn't have. And B, I had to pat myself on the back because I didn't react the way that I would have reacted. And C, as part of my faith walk, the Holy Spirit checked me. My conscience checked me. However you want to say it. Holy Spirit, conscience, it checked me and said, you know what? You shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's not your type of crowd. That's not the people that you hang out with. That was your old life. Why would you try to go back to your old life? Whether you're trying to support someone or not, sometimes we just can't go back to the things that we used to do. And we have to be wise enough in our walk with Christ to understand that. But mentally, it stressed me out for a little bit. We were raised that what goes on in the house stays in the house, and we definitely did not do therapy. If you did therapy back in my time, it was something that the teacher or the social worker suggested for your child, and you were being obedient because you didn't want to get in trouble with the law. It wasn't on the frontmost of our minds, of our parents' mind, and as my mind. As I began to think about everything that transpired in my life, I thought about friends, family members, people that had been sexually assaulted, people that had been sexually assaulted by siblings, people that had been sexually assaulted by family members, and even church members. That's right, church members. I started to think about some of the people that our parents used to trust us around and thought that that person was a pretty okay adult. And some people carry that in their spirit. They carry it with them for the rest of their life. And certain things like songs, smells, it triggers that. I certainly got triggered at this last event that I tried to support because that person was trying to bring me back to my past. And my Bible tells me that God did a new thing in me when I turned my life over to Him. So why should I associate with anybody, whether I know them or not, to try to remind me of my past when I'm trying so hard to run away from my past? Not that I'm not dealing with my past, but some things you just rather forget. And that's a part of mental health, forgetting things. Sometimes we seasoned people, some of us have buried stuff so deep because that's the way our parents taught us. Bury it. It's said, it's done, it's over with. You can't do anything about it. That was yesterday. Pray about it. Being raised in a Christian household, that was the thing that we were taught the most. Pray about it. God will handle it. And the next thing it was, oh, you don't believe in God. You don't believe that God can work miracles. I do believe that He can work miracles. I do believe that He stands in the midst of our situations. But I also believe that He gave us professionals like doctors and nurses and scientists and teachers. These things, such as mental health, is a part of their expertise. And it should not be taken lightly. Now, it may not be for everybody. My mate is old school, and he still thinks in the same form that his parents taught him. Pray about it. There's nothing in life that it can affect you that badly where I need to sit down and talk to anyone. And that's just not dealing with himself as an individual. That's in our marriage too. And that can be difficult at times when you want to go and get help for y'all, but they don't want to go because that's not their belief. So then you end up divided. It's half and half. You do what you need to do for you, but that still takes a mental toll because you're supposed to be one. As I try to work this thing out in my household, I found a formula that works for me. I talk when I need to talk to someone, whether it be a therapist or whether it be someone that I don't know. I try not to use anybody that I know that is immediate family. And I do add what my parents taught me was pray about it. And I continue to talk to my father about it until I feel a little better. But I'm not comfortable with the fact that we have two different views on mental health. The only thing that I can ask for is maybe one day a light bulb will come on with him and he'll meet me halfway. But as the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I got one better than that. Someone once said, sometimes you can change a man, but ultimately they'll go back to who they used to be because that's what they know. Not my words, guys. So don't throwing any rocks in my glass house over here. But I think it happens all around us, and we need to be aware, even in the workplace. I was bullied in the workplace of a job that the actual overseer of the company came and recruited me as a young adult. And I ended up spending many years. Wherever she moved from a company, I moved. She always recruited me. Only to come to the end of it, jealousy set in there. As she got older, I got better. She got jealous. Maybe she thought her job was threatened. But either way, she started to treat me differently. And it not only affected my mental health, it affected me physically too. I was stressing myself out, losing hair, losing sleep behind the job. It was the nitpicking. She began to nitpick at stuff that I know wasn't right for her to nitpick at. But she was being a bully. And I think it was because she could look in the mirror and see that she was getting older. And all the new things that was taking place at this company, I was catching on, and I was catching on quick. And she didn't want her job to be threatened. Not knowing that young girl that she had doted on for so many years. That was baggage in itself. Or having to come home to parents that said just that, pray about it. We as Christians sometimes, I feel like we get a bad rep, and I will say that. Because sometimes we're seen as soon as we say we are Christian, that we don't cuss, we don't smoke, we don't drink, and we try not to fall out with people. And I did say try, that being the operative word, because you know what? Some Christians try to say that, yes, I love everybody. We're not in a great mood every single day of our lives. And anyone that says that they are is just not true. We have our bad moments. One of the worst moments of our life is when we start to fall short of what God's word said. And it's a lot to try to train and tame your flesh and keep your mind in heavenly places. You still got to walk through this world. You still got to contend with people, whether they're having a bad day, whether they're having a good day, or perhaps like the story I told you guys earlier, whether they believe in God or not. It's a constant battle. And being raised like that, and that always being at the forefront of your mind, even when you get out of your parents' house. They raised you to be a Christian. So anytime you're doing something that you know that's not pleasing to God or your parents, whether you still do your dirt or not, it still messes with you mentally. When I said that I thought Christians get a bad rep, I think that some people, when you say I'm a Christian, they think that all you do is walk around with a bunch of scripture coming out of your mouth, carrying your Bible, and preaching the gospel to everybody. And it's just quite not true. A lot of people, and I know some of you guys have, whether you admit it or not, they'll climb up when someone says that they're a Christian, or they'll try to watch their curse word. It's not for us to try to change you, but it's for us to maintain in whatever circumstance we're in, to be okay. Paul said, I'm content in all things I do. And he didn't really mean it the way that I just explained it, but he meant wherever he goes, whatever he's doing, wherever he's eating, wherever he's sleeping, and all things that I do. So maybe he did. So we're supposed to be okay in different settings. But the problem is sometimes people change the narrative in the setting. And if you're not secure in your walk, you can find yourself being changed with the narrative. Just because you chose that lifestyle change. We're supposed to make people feel comfortable, but we want to be comfortable too. We don't want to worry, but we do. We don't want to have doubt. We want to have faith. We want to be able to stand as long as we can stand. And we want to be what God told us to be, the example that He showed us. But sometimes you have things that come across your plate that simply bothers you. Whether you're a Christian or not, there's a lot of things that bother people. Whether it be social media, we've heard the stories in social media where people have had something said nasty about them and it becomes a running joke and they end up committing suicide. We have people that commit suicide and we didn't even know anything was wrong with them. Take Twitch. I spoke about him last year. Every time we seen him in the public eye, he was enjoying music, the Ellen show, dancing with his mate, but ultimately ended his life in a hotel room by himself. And no one saw that coming. Over the last 2 years, as I've been educated by one of our fellow podcasters, shouts out to Chronicles of a Virgo. She's helped me in so many ways, just listening to her show or having personal conversations. I'm able to listen a little bit more instead of combat with my young adults. And as well, getting back into my word, my faith walk. Being in my word daily helps my mental status. It helps me know the difference from being obedient and disobedient. And it shows me the path of what's right and wrong. And it doesn't mean that sometimes I'm not going to get sidetracked like I did last week with this particular person and their event. But it means I have something to hold on to when I come up against that mountain that just doesn't want to move at that particular time. Can fight with the word. But I do think that all of us get triggered, whether you're a Christian, whether you're not a Christian. I think that we all could learn something from it. I think my significant other could learn a whole lot from it. But some people is just so stuck in their ways that sometimes it takes for them to recognize it. You can't tell them. They have to recognize it within themselves, just like me. I've talked about it in the past where I thought that most children were just spoiled, just kicking and screaming because you can't have your way. And I'm not talking about small children. I'm talking about my young adults. I'm talking about teenagers, small children, even grown folk. That it was just our lifestyle and the environment that we were brought up in. And that sounds ignorant. But that was my train of thought until I dived into it a little bit deeper. And as I dived into it a little bit deeper, I started to evaluate myself. Maybe there were areas in my life where I could use therapists. So, it is not to be taken lightly. And as I said before, it could be work, it could be school, it could be family, it could even be church. A lot of people that are Christians, they stress themselves out about the walk. I know I certainly was. I had to raise my hand on that one. I used to stress myself out about all the things that I was doing, whether it pleased God or not. And when I stopped thinking in that frame of mind and started getting into His Word for the love of the Word to be a better person, stop stressing about pleasing God. When I realized that I was doing exactly what He told me to do in the first place, keep his word, keep his commandments. When I stopped worrying about my faith walk and if I had enough faith, and punishing myself and beating myself up when my faith fell short. When I started realizing things like grace and mercy. When I started realizing that I could forgive somebody as well as myself 70 times 70. It made a whole big difference in my walk. And when God brought people along that had walked this thing a long time to say, sure, I failed that. I didn't do that quite right. Oh, yeah, that happened to me too. It helped me mentally know that I'm not a perfect Christian. I'll never be a perfect Christian. And it's okay not to be okay sometimes. And it is okay to ask for help, whether your significant other wants it or not. You do what's best for you. If my Bible tells me to search out my own soul salvation in fear and in trembling, then I need to search out my mental health in that same fashion. It's not different. It's taking care of me. That's self-love. We can exercise to have nice bodies, take great pics, put them on social media. But if our mental status is not right in our social circles, all the pretending in the world that you do, all the beautiful pictures of your new body, new smile, it's not going to help much if mentally you're messed up. And that starts to mess with your heart as well. Sadness, grief. I certainly go through my moments of grief. I lost two of my best friends, my mom and my oldest sister. One of my oldest sisters. And I grieve every June, every July, every Mother's Day, and certainly every holiday, especially Thanksgiving and Christmas, because that was the time that I spent with my mom the most, days at a time, cooking together, talking on the telephone with friends and family, passing the phone between the both of us while both of us was in the kitchen getting dinner cooked for the rest of the family to come over for that special day. So grief, it can mess with you mentally as well. I was thinking about that on Sunday as I began to clean out some pictures out of my phone. I ran across pictures in my OneDrive that had my sister and my mom there. One of the pictures I had taken of my mom in the hospital bed when they had taken all the stuff off her and said, you know, if you believe in God, talk to her and she may hear you. But the only thing that kept her alive thus far was the machines, and they unhooked them. And I took this snapshot of her because she looked so peaceful. And in my mind, I could see her in heaven. But today, in this time, when I looked at the picture, I want to get rid of it because I don't want that to be the last memory of my mom. When I have so many other beautiful pictures of her, ultimately, I could not bring myself to delete it. So I'm still holding on to a little bit of baggage. As I began to think about that before I started this episode, I said, self, you know what it is? It's probably the fact that you never got to say a final goodbye. I was living in New York when my mother passed away. And when I got the phone call, she had already been in a coma and never came out of it. I was just told to get home as soon as I could. I got home the next day and they had already taken her off of the machine. So I didn't get a moan, a groan, a hey baby. And I carried that around with me for a very long time. Up until just recently, I forgave myself because I was living life and my mother would have expected me to live life. When I stopped beating myself up mentally about so many things that I can't change in my life, I'm a better human being. So our mental health is important. Now, I could have brought this a whole different way. I could presented it a whole different way and fact checked and had a guest on. But I thought, what better way to present it than just life lessons? We all adopted this saying last year, life be life, and yes, it does. Life be life. But at the end of the day, we have to take charge of the things that we can control. And the things that we can't control, that's why we have professionals out there. And it's okay to see a professional. No matter what I was raised in a Christian household. I was raised, keep your business in your house. I was raised, don't ask, stay out of grown folk business. All of the colloquialisms. But ultimately, growing into the woman that I am now, I thank God that my children did not let me put off on them what was instilled in me, because they fought me all the way. And I thank God for that, because it made me open up my eyes to the possibility of change where it concerns mental health. And that maybe, just maybe, it was my turn to sit down and talk to a specialist so that I could be the best mother, the best wife, the best friend, the best business partner, the best human being that I could be. And I believe God would honor that. Not only will He honor it, it'll help me continue to grow with God in all things that I do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little pop-up today. Continue to help someone recognize the triggers, the warning signs. And if you yourself are working on yourself, being the best version of you that you can be, it's okay not to make any new friends, especially if they're going to bring discord. And it's okay not to go around the old friends, especially if they're used to discord. You can't get better if you continue to hang around and do the things that you used to. And although sometimes it may get lonely, not having those people that we're so accustomed to having in our lives, we have to take care of ourselves. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for morning inspirations at 11:30 a.m. only on YouTube. Only on YouTube. And if you want to catch the replay, head on over to YouTube or 12thstreettalkback.com and watch it over there. Every Tuesday, we'll be spotlighting our guest of the week. That'll be on our friends and families episode on Fridays. This week, we have a young lady coming up, Sandra Golden, author, a young mother. She'll be in the building on Friday. and she'll be talking to us about her techniques, some of the techniques that she used as a young mother to raise her young children today, and how effective it was for her in their relationship. Peace and blessings to you all. Until next time.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Unlock a new era in podcasting with Unfiltered Studios. Ready to break free from the ordinary? Dive into a world where authenticity meets innovation. Our network isn't just about podcasts, it's a revolution. From nostalgia to movies, sports to self-improvement, find your favorite podcast in an array of diverse shows, only at Unfiltered Studios. Join the movement. Subscribe to Unfiltered Studios today and join the podcasting revolution. Unfiltered Studios, where every voice finds its place. Visit unfpod.com today to find your favorite show.
Unfiltered Studios will help you press record.